Blog Talk Radio.
The purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. Purple angel, oh purple angel, you're next to me. You're next to me. You're next to me.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host and founder of Alzheimer Speaks, Lori LeBay. For those of you that are new to the show, Alzheimer Speaks is an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort around the world. We believe that by joining forces and sharing knowledge and having these everyday conversations about life with dementia, that we're going to be able to remove the stigmas attached to memory loss and help people live with the disease, not as it. Together, I know we can make a huge difference and bring back dignity to those that feel like it's fallen astray from this illness. At our core, with Alzheimer Speaks, we believe that collaboration is really going to be the key to battling dementia. And I know that we're winning this fight, even though it might seem like we're not, because Alzheimer Speaks was lucky enough to be recognized as the #1 influencer online, according to ShareCare, which is the largest health and wellness website in the world, and Dr. Oz. And that didn't happen because of what we're doing. It happened because of what you're doing. Your likes, your clicks, your shares, with your Google circles, with your Facebook friends, with your LinkedIn colleagues, is making a difference. You see, when we share knowledge and when we share information and resources, we put it out there for others to grab when they're ready. And many times we don't know of people in our own circles, can even be family, close family and friends that are dealing with dementia, but kind of haven't come out of the closet yet because of the stigma. So I really encourage you to share all of our radio episodes, our blog posts, our resource website. Be part of the community that's just out there to raise everyone's voice so that people can find the information when they need it. And again, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for all you are doing to shift our dementia care culture and help raise awareness. On our calls here, every show, you have an opportunity to call in. If you have a question or a comment for our guest, please don't hesitate to do so. This is a very casual conversation. That's what it's meant to be. We want to hear everyone's voice. So feel free to call in to 714-364-4757. Again, that is 714-364-4757. Or you can always use the chat box as well, and I'll be monitoring questions and comments as we go from there as well. Now, before I introduce our first guest, and we have some fabulous guests today doing some really, really neat work. I always like to give a shout out to some organizations and concepts that I don't think everyone is aware of. And the first one is the Purple Angel Project. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Purple Angel with the globe is the new global symbol for dementia that everybody can use. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to read a little poster, and then you can help raise awareness. You can put it on your Facebook. You can put it on websites, on your businesses, etc. And the goal is to get people to ask, what's the Purple Angel, so that we can start having a conversation about dementia. Another organization is ADI, or Alzheimer's Disease International. And Alzheimer's Disease International is actually the organization of all Alzheimer's associations around the world. So no matter where you're listening from, no matter where you live or where a loved one of yours has a need, Alzheimer's Disease International can hook you up with the closest Alzheimer's association in your area. There is also a wealth of global information there, so you'll hear the latest on the G7 summits and some of the international research that's taking place. If you're local here like me in Minnesota, one of my favorite people to work with and favorite companies is HealthStar Home Health. They are doing just an absolutely brilliant job here in Minnesota, really changing how home health is delivered for those dealing with dementia. And so I would encourage you to check them out if you're in need of having someone assist you. Their staff are trained through the Alzheimer's Whisperer program to really help promote better care, and they share that knowledge with those that hire them, the caregivers, so their jobs become easier as well. For people who are interested in a more holistic approach to care, I recommend you check out the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation. There you're going to find information on diet and exercise and meditation, how to reduce stress, just a great organization. And then many people are dealing with specific types of dementia, not just Alzheimer's, but maybe it's Lewy body or frontal temporal lobe, or maybe they're having problems with speech. And there are national organizations specific to those. So check out the Lewy Body Dementia Association or the Association for Frontal Temporal Degeneration, or the National Aphasia Association, which again has to do with speech. And then I'm, of course, a big music component I think is really important when it comes to dementia. I've just seen so many people react so positively, and you've seen, the YouTube clips and hopefully the movie Alive Inside, the power of music. There's also a company called Alzheimer's Music Connect that has great music that has a pending patent that helps people connect for longer periods of time after they've listened to the music. And you can't tell by listening. It's just great everyday music. So I would highly encourage you to check out Alzheimer's Music Connect. And then many people just like to do puzzles. There's a company called Puzzle With Me that has designed puzzles that are bigger pieces, more age-appropriate, and fewer pieces to put together. And Jane Snyder has done a great job with that. The Jiminy Wicket program will be the last one that I'll mention. And that it can be used in a couple of different ways. It's an adaptive croquet game that really is a lot of fun. It can be used educationally between schools and memory care communities, or people can play it as families or within their own communities. And people can play in wheelchairs. It's a very fun and not expensive game to be able to play, and it can be played indoors or outdoors, which again is a very neat in and of itself. So with all of that being said and done, I'm really excited to introduce our first guest here. We have Ashley Kwong with us today, and she has dreamed of opening her own care home for seniors since she had her first co-op experience in high school at the age of 17 years old. And as soon as Ashley graduated from high school, she made steps in her life to gain knowledge and experience to be qualified to realize her dream. She has looked at healthcare, at the healthcare industry pretty much every day of her life with an entrepreneurial sense on how was she going to make her mark in this industry. And I really believe she has come up with a fabulous, fabulous concept that she's going to share with us today. She lives in Canada, and there she recognized some health gaps in the care industry, and she's really focused on future change and community-based services, and she came up with this idea of a health club for people with Alzheimer's and other related dementias. And she is in the process of bringing that dream and that concept to life. It's called Memory and Company. And you're going to hear from Ashley. You'll just be able to hear from the tone of her voice how dedicated she is. You're going to hear her passion and how she lives with it daily to make a difference, and how evident and powerful that is, and what she has done, over the past 17 years in her senior care industry. So I'm excited to introduce you to Ashley Kwong. Ashley, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Lori.
Well, I am so excited about what you are doing. This is an idea that I think so many people in the industry have talked about, but nobody's kind of cut the bread and butter and actually done it. And I think it's so needed. So can you tell people why did you decide to create Memory and Company, and exactly what is it?
Okay, so as you said, I've worked with people with dementia since I was a teenager, and I've witnessed, some really upsetting care and treatment of individuals with dementia because they couldn't advocate for themselves and felt, the system really neglected those that needed our help the most. So I vowed then that I would do something about it. So, I went back to school, went through the system to, learn more about it, joined a company and Sunrise Senior Living, and got my foot in the door there and learned the basics of care. I was a med tech. I was a caregiver. I ran the Alzheimer's neighborhood for 3 years as well, and then I was the executive director there. And I went and I met with many families over the years, and wanted to really keep. I wanted to improve the quality of care and keep people at home longer.
Well, it's just a fascinating, I think, concept, and it amazes me sometimes the vision that people have at such a young age, and your pursuit of that. A lot of people would have given up. And I think a lot of people have. We think of ideas and go, it's going to be too much work, it's going to be too hard. But you've really pursued this path and learned over the years and talked with people. What are some of the challenges that you faced in terms of creating your company? Because I'm sure there had to have been quite a few of them.
Oh yes, definitely. Creating an Alzheimer's health club and the day program environment. People really didn't know what it was, how it was going to work. People are used to being in it was the institutionalized environment. I went to the cities, and the only place that I could get against the zoning was that it had to be attached to a long-term care facility, or it had to be in an institutional area. People are trying to put us into industrial parkways, and it wasn't a place that, I wanted to go to, or an environment. I wanted to really de-institutionalize Alzheimer's care. And, people didn't need to be in a heavy healthcare environment. People needed to be in a place that was empathetic, supported them, and in a beautiful environment, and not in an institutional environment. So the cities and the towns really struggled with getting thinking outside of the box, and that seniors and people with dementia didn't need to be hiding away. So when we finally, we went through 5 or 6 different towns locally to try to find a place that we were allowed to be in. So it took us 2 years to find a spot that was, ideal, that, had the outside space, 1 floor, open concept, really wheelchair accessible, and a place that, it met all the town requirements, and we had to get, our minor variants and, meeting all the bylaw requirements and regulations of the city. So, it was a long process, and, we had to change some of the books with the town and and get that changed. So yeah, it was really breaking a lot of the mindset of where we had to be.
Oh yeah. What type of response have you gotten from people once you started pushing this in motion?
A really, really positive response. Families finally saying, finally. I mean, I even saw a gentleman this morning come in, having me as we're renovating. I'm having all the construction workers coming in, and so many of even the men I'm meeting coming in while we're doing construction are going, my parent has dementia, or oh my God, finally something like this is available to meeting the people in the industry that are going, we've been thinking about this forever, but nobody's ever done it, or it's just finding a way. So families have been really, really positive about having another option available to them, and in an environment that anybody would want to be in. It's removing the assembly style of care and treating people with the dignity and respect that they deserve, even while they're going through this disease, this very challenging disease, and giving the caregivers the support that they need, and giving the caregivers a place that they can be proud to have their loved one come to for the day, and in a guilt-free environment. So when they drop them off, they're going, I'm taking my loved one to the health club for the day, and in a very adult-oriented style, and focusing on their health and well-being, while the caregivers are looking after their own health and well-being at the same time, which is so important.
Oh, definitely. Now, Ashley, you had talked about renovation. Are you starting from scratch, or were you a health club to begin with that is just changed your mode, or an adult day originally when you speak of renovation?
Yeah, so what we did was we searched around everywhere, and we found an office space, an 11,000 square foot office space that had health club zoning. So we were allowed to get a minor variance in changing the zoning. But really it was an office space that we are completely renovating, the interior of it. A lot of the individual rooms are available, so there's lots of smaller rooms for smaller programming, but we're putting in an open concept kitchen, so that our members can smell the food cooking, interact. We can also do baking and activities using activities of daily living, because we all know how important a kitchen is in our lives. It's the new living room, right? So we want people, our countertop is that they can witness everything happening. They can saddle up to the counter and come and chat. So we're recreating that new living room kitchen experience. We're also putting in fully wheelchair accessible bathrooms and a complete, fully accessible spa-like bathroom, so that are with aromatherapy and the chromotherapy, the light therapy tub. So we can bathe our members in a beautiful, sensory stimulating environment. So that our members and their families can get the help with, the bathing that so many people and the hygiene that so many people need. So we're actually looking after the care needs. The renovation and as well, making it a beautiful environment. We're really prettying it up, using interiors that are very home-like. No more jerry chairs sitting in the rooms, or the big ugly chairs that you often see in long-term care. We're using home furnishing. Everything's practical, wipeable, of course, but it's leather seating and an environment that the wood floors and beautiful. It's focusing on really making it a comfortable environment.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. Now, people can go to your website and they can actually see a floor plan, and I think you've got a virtual tour there
yes,
as well. But one of the things that I really like when I'm looking at your floor plan here is, it's not a lot of adult days are these big open spaces, and there's so much going on, and this really looks like so comfortable and so private, and is it just seems so respectful the way it's laid out. With you even have a movie theater, you've got a quiet time area, you've got a library, a music den, you've got a memory nursery. What can you explain to us what a memory nursery is?
Yeah, so it's the use of doll therapy. I know it sounds, a lot of people, they get up in arms with the experience of doll therapy and making it, giving a childlike kind of feel. But I had a hard time at first grasping the doll therapy. But children are such a big part of our lives, and I myself have a 3-year-old that's going to be coming in and spending some time here too. So it's having a nursery here. It's often people with dementia, they enjoy having that interaction with dolls and babies, feeding them, caring for them. It really brings an amazing calming effect and an interaction that, I haven't witnessed with any other things similar. So, I thought, and that was, that idea I had seen at Sunrise. And I really liked it, and we're just going to adapt it a little bit more to make it, a full-scale nursery so that people can sit and, and enjoy and reminisce about that. Our whole environment is based on reminiscing our experiences down to the pictures on our walls will be, things that add to a reminiscing environment. So that's why we're having a nursery. It's just another center for our activities of daily living.
Well, I think that is really, really interesting. Now I have Harry Urban on the line with us too, and he actually is diagnosed with dementia, and I'd love to get his feedback and pull him into the conversation here. Harry always has such great insights for us. Harry, are you there?
I sure am.
What do you think about this? What do you think about this health club concept versus an adult day, just in title alone?
Well, see, I was concerned, well, not concerned. I was confused actually when I heard Alzheimer's Health Club. Now I visualized a huge room with rows and rows of treadmills and bicycles and things like that, and I thought, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would want to go to some place like that, or if I'd be able to go to some place like that. But then the more you explain to it what it is, then I started to get a clearer picture of that. Yeah. And I think the concept is super. I'd like to hear more about the things that are done there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, we have everything, and the reason why we went for the health club name is just because it seems like a more dignified name than, the daycare kind of feel. We want to have definitely an adult-sounding thing. And health club looks at the overall health and happiness of people with Alzheimer's and related dementias. So, it's not the treadmills and the elliptical equipment. We do have exercise, mostly seated exercise, yoga, calming exercises, low-impact exercises that we'll have available. But we also have activities from, playing pool to, we have a large activity room to, golfing and putting. We have we'll have a carpet space that, they can do putting. We also have a music room. Music is, as Lori said earlier on in the program, how important music therapy is. Music therapy, if you've seen Alive Inside, is very, very important. So all our members will have access to iPads. So we do have an iPad room that each member will have their own set playlist, as well as their music, their personal videos and photos available to them. So families will say, their particular music that they really enjoy, that makes them happy. We will put them on our iPads, and all our staff have iPads on them as well, so we can do individualized care and information at the touch of our fingertips, so that we're always catering to the needs of our members. The other areas we have quiet one-on-one rooms that our members can, have more personal time. We know how important it is that, people get the time and attention they need. So we're actually starting at a 5-to-1 staffing ratio because, if people can't feel heard and valued and respected and, they keep getting pushed under the carpet because, they may not be able to express themselves as easily as, the average person, that we need to be able to give them the time and attention that they need. So we have lots of smaller group programs so that our many programs can be spontaneous instead of scheduling all the time. People with dementia have a hard time following a schedule. So we follow it based on how people want to be, how they want their day to roll out. We also have lay-down rooms. I experienced a day program recently the people that came to the day program weren't allowed to close their eyes. They weren't allowed to rest. Well, people can be here for 11 hours a day, and I can't imagine not wanting to, close my eyes for a few minutes. So we give people the opportunity to, rest up for, an hour, have a break if they want to, and then rejoin our programs. So it's giving the people the option, at all times, to participate in our programs or not, or just enjoy the environment. We're offering lots of sensory stimulation, activities of daily living, so people can, feel like part of a community when they come to us, rather than, that they're just joining, a set program and lining them up in front of a TV. We have, a movie theater that, people can watch their favorite movies in a relaxing environment, lounges. So there's so much available for people to choose and get invited and encouraged to attend. But if they choose not to, that's their prerogative.
Now I wish I lived in Canada.
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
Really is a very, very nice concept. To give people the freedom. I did put a link in the chat box, too, if people want to check out the floor plan, because I think once you see that, it just it'll just become so much clearer in terms of how things are situated. You even have a potting room and a solarium, you know, which is there's so many different things. There's a kind of a bar and a lounge area, hydrotherapy. Can you talk about hydrotherapy a little bit more?
Yeah, so that's our spa-like bathroom, so people can go in and, people would book to have their bathing in the spa-like environment. So it's a jetted tub that they can go and have their nice, aromatherapy, chromotherapy, bath, and that's an option and as well, we have a fully accessible shower. So people can get, the families can get the help that they need with hygiene and making sure that our members always look and feel good is so important. That's the area that people with dementia struggle so much with is, that they can't, manage to, get their hair right or getting their makeup on for the day. We can help with that. So long as, people are feeling good and looking good, so much more comes together that, they're going home happy.
Mm-hmm. Now, with because you have so many different rooms, as far as supervising people, how will that work? Because I would imagine you're going to have different people at different stages that'll be coming. So how will that work?
So the way we do is we variable staff based on our assessment. So we go out and we assess our members and see where they're at and how much staffing they require. So we have 3 levels of care. So if we start at basically a 5-to-1 ratio for our level 1 care. So that's people that, need the safety, the security of our environment, reminders, may need queuing for certain things, but, they're not requiring the heavier care. To our 3rd level of care, that's about a 1-to-3 ratio, where, they might need assistance with feeding, they might need incontinence support. So that's where we ensure that our staffing is always maintained so that there's people always around. Each staff gets assigned to each member, so that our staff are always checking up, making sure that they're okay. But at the same time, we give them freedom to wander the space. The space is secure. Areas that they may put them in harm's way will be locked, so that our members can freely wander the space without having to worry that they're going to get into anything that's going to cause them discomfort or harm. So we're always having people wandering around, making sure and checking that everybody's having a good time.
Okay. Well, that makes complete sense. What is your projection date for opening? I know you're still under construction right now.
Yeah, we're hitting the final bend for construction. So we're opening for tours mid-March, and we're planning to open on May the 4th.
Okay. So
very exciting.
I can't imagine how excited you are with all of that. That's got to just be,
dreams come true.
Uh-huh. Well, very, very neat. Now, can people get tours or talk to you ahead of time before it opens? Or
Absolutely. People can register now if they'd like. We are taking registration. We also have online registration available as well. So, people can also just give me a call at 905-888-8808 or go onto the Memory and Company website at memoryandcompany.com. And they can book a tour for as soon as we're open. It should be by mid-March. We should be ready and have the place up and pretty for people to tour around. So just reach out to us if you're interested in our health club. We'd love to have them.
Wow. Now, are you going to be doing anything with volunteers in your community at all to assist with staffing, or is this going to be strictly staffed?
This will be staffed, but volunteers are always welcome to always add to our environment. We would never include them in our roster of our care needs. But of course, adding more volunteers. We've also reached out to different schools and colleges in the area for students to come and learn from our environment as well. So the more people that are interested in joining, or I have already had art therapy students come out and want to join, music students want to come and volunteer their time. So, it's, we're welcoming anybody that, wants to add to the quality of our environments. Absolutely.
The reason I ask is I know Harry's on a big mission with volunteers and stuff right now, and so I thought, well, I would pose that. He's been just a huge advocate and has done some really neat things through social media and then also through memory cafes and stuff physically. Have you considered doing kind of a memory cafe type concept in your health club at all, where family members could also participate if it's just for an hour or two?
Yeah, actually, that's funny you said that. We actually our first original name was Memory Cafe, and then
really?
as we learned, it was, and we had to get it changed. But we are in. That's something that we could look at down the road, and as our members are getting oriented to our program as well, we do welcome a family member to come and help them through the transition, because we all know the change of environment. It can be, very, very hard on people with dementia. So, we do welcome families, at first to come in and help them get oriented so that, they're more and more comfortable until, we can fully take over. But, having families come in for, a coffee and really getting to know our environment is good as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought in some ways it might be a neat thing, because this is just such a nice concept. You definitely would have the room to facilitate kind of an activity of that nature,
yep.
and it might help build some support for family members as well with that, which is, I think, always needed. Now, with your library and stuff, are you going to be stocking that independently, or are you looking for people to donate things in the library?
We would absolutely look to donate. We have been actually, the ladies at, my mom works for University of Toronto. They have kindly donated many coffee table books for us. They're the Trinity College Ladies of the Library. So they've donated quite a few, I think about 60 coffee table books. So any books that, are easily browsed through, lots of pictures, and as well as other, a variety of other books as well. But, yeah, absolutely, we would love any books or information that people want to donate, or any, small programs or activities if they want to add to us. We're definitely looking at, adding more to our quality. As, this business is started by strictly my husband and I, where we actually sold our home to start this company up, and put everything that we had to get this company started, because we really believed in making, it was time for a change in the way dementia care is. So yeah, anything that people want to help out, that would be fantastic.
Okay, wonderful. Now, also, I would imagine that you'd be open to like audiobooks if people had audiobooks.
Absolutely.
And then with the music den, what is that going to kind of look and feel like? Is that going to be more plugged into technology for music, or will there be different types of instruments?
A little bit of. Yeah, so we'll have different types of instruments. We'll have a piano here. We have guitars. We'll have a variety of different instruments available. But also at the same time, we're going to have iTunes available with a variety of different music there, as well as records and and record players. So it's whatever people are comfortable with, used to. Where we'll search any different type of music that's available.
Okay. One of the things, I don't know if you're familiar, I'll go ahead and give them a plug, but Alzheimer's Music Connect. It has some great music with a patent pending, and it's something that people can just kind of plug into, but it helps them engage longer, up to 3 hours longer, and I didn't know if you were familiar with them, but that might be something that you'd want to check out, because they've got a really nice variety of songs, and then, also I know a lot of people are interested in, prayers or eulogies and things like that too. I know that there are companies out there that have that as well. I think this is just an absolutely brilliant concept. Harry, I'm going to go ahead and pull you back in again and see if you had any other comments that you wanted to ask Ashley.
I do. I have a couple ideas for you, Ashley. Now, I don't know if you have them in your plan or not, but you said everybody has access to iPads. Now, are you going to be setting up so they can do video chats for the long distance loved ones
we will have FaceTime ability.
Very hard.
Yep, we will have FaceTime ability. We have a room full of 5 iPads that they can easily access at any time, as well as all our staff have iPads that they can utilize. Anything that we can connect to or download, absolutely. If that's something that the individual is looking for or their family, we can for sure do that.
I've seen so many people that I set up a video chat with them, and they now they're in their mid to late stages, but they touch the screen of the iPad. They even when the loved one comes on the iPad, they even kiss the iPad. I mean, it's so heartwarming for me. Another place we have around here, they have a sewing room for the women that they go there and they sew and they knit whatever, and they also have a workshop room for the men, and this is a room where they can go and they can have birdhouses. Now everything is pre-cut, but they can sand it down, they can nail it together, and they can paint it themselves. They have a music room with a jukebox, and the jukebox is loaded with songs of the era that we're living in.
Yeah.
Like I'm living in the 50s and 60s, and that's the kind of music I listen to. And the jukebox is set up like that. And another thing I'm pushing is a gardening room where people love to get their hands dirty, and I make raised flower beds that somebody with a wheelchair can come up to, and it's like a raised flower bed with dirt in it, maybe 6-8 inches deep, and they can plant tomato plants or whatever, and they get so much enjoyment by sitting around this bed and just pulling out weeds and just tending to it every day.
Yeah, and that's just on the garden note. That's why we picked the space that we have. We have a beautiful space, and we're actually going to have an outdoor lounge with some raised garden beds, so that our members can plant and be part of that. I know I love gardening, and I would want that always to be part of my life. That it's definitely something that's in the plans. As for sewing, absolutely. My husband's a fantastic sewer. We would definitely look into adding something like that, and the workshop space as well. We're constantly looking for ways, to improve our environment and use innovation, and what our members are interested in doing too, to improve, the environment that we have. So, often people ask me, what's your planned set of activity lists that you're going to be doing? I said, well, I don't have all my members yet. I don't know, what they like. Why am I planning for them that, we're doing bingo 5 days a week when nobody likes bingo? So, it's looking at what each individual member wants to do here. We'll try to bring it here. So it's getting that, looking at, what they want.
Very cool.
That is so wonderful. I wish you the most success.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to your launch and to staying connected with this. Like I told you offline, Ashley, I can see this being franchised. I think it's really a brilliant concept, and one that so many people have talked about needing a different approach, a dignified approach to respite care for families and for a fun place to be, and I love the where you have the quiet room. So it's not about having to be busy all the time. It's about being thoughtfully and meaningfully engaged, and we don't always want that 24/7 in our lives. We need some downtime.
No, not at all.
And taking that into consideration. One of my favorite comments Harry made one time on our Dementia Chats webinars was, he said, I used to like to relax before I got diagnosed. I still do. And it's funny how we forget just that simple and so important statement that we all need to relax, to rejuvenate, and it's okay to be quiet. It's actually quite brilliant to be able to be comfortable and quiet. And so it looks like, again, the floor plan looks amazing with the big, you've got indoor and outdoor areas. You've got the fitness and dance studio. Do you have any certain types of dance that you're thinking of doing with people? We've had a few dance schools reach out to us, that we can do a couple, classes, as well, just fun dancing. Let's turn on the music and be silly. That's one thing, you don't always need the formal dance training. You need, a bunch of people just wanting to listen to fun music and be silly and dance and enjoy themselves. So, it doesn't have to be so regimented. It can be, just a fun type of place that, they can just be themselves and, enjoy. Yeah. Well, and music and dance is so powerful. It's great exercise. It lifts the spirits. I mean, it changes actually the body chemistry as a whole. And if you can create that environment where it doesn't have to be perfect, it's not about being perfect. You're going to, as you know, you're going to get a lot more participation, and people are going to have a lot more fun. If they're not feeling like they're...
I know I'm not a good dancer, but I love to dance,
Yeah. Yep. Are you going to do anything? I'm just thinking along that whole music lines. Are you going to do any kind of karaoke type thing? Because I could see people being interested in that too.
Yeah, definitely karaoke. My husband's on the Asian, is Asian and loves karaoke, and so karaoke is definitely going to be part of it. We already have a karaoke machine. Yep.
Okay, and I know here in Minnesota they've started Voices of Dementia, which is a choir, and has gotten actually quite a bit of press internationally with it. It's been pretty fabulous, and I know for my own mom, who really liked to sing, even when she was in the nursing home, she would say she was in the choir and she'd go around and sing to others. But it's something like that too, I think is a fun activity, and it also gives back to other people, for enjoyment and stuff too. But it sounds like you have such a good handle on a variety that you're going to be offering, and you do have one space in your floor plan that doesn't have a name, in between the potting room and solarium and the kitchen. What is that area going to be? It looks like it leads to the outdoors, too. Do you know offhand?
I'm trying to picture where you're talking about. The potting room leads to the outdoor space, so I'm not sure. And then we have an activity room, the whole you know what? You're probably the open concept laundry. Is that?
Oh, okay. Because there is the laundry room and the spa. I see that. But this is like in between where the kitchen is and the potting room. And it's behind kind of the movie theaters and the locker room, and there's like three.
Oh, I think that's just a hallway. Oh, you know what? That's just our mechanical room.
Oh, okay. Because there's
and storage,
Oh, okay, that would
we need lots of storage to put all our goodies in.
Okay, and then there's like three smaller rooms that are kind of the size of the laundry and the spa room. What are those areas?
Yeah, so they're just individual program rooms. So, we can do puzzles, or we can, just giving space so that, we can do a reading stories, or, just private one-on-one kind of space, or small group space.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice. That's nice to have. You really have thought this out really, really well. And I think it'll be exciting. Are you going to do an actual virtual tour, once you're up and running? I know right now you have a virtual tour, kind of an architect virtual tour posted.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. As soon as we have it up and ready, we will have it photographed and put it right up. And right now we're just looking at the options of getting the 360 virtual tours done as well, so that people can get a full scene of the place without even having to come in.
Okay, wonderful. Well, anything that we didn't cover that you're interested in sharing with people?
I think we covered the majority, but I'm super excited to make a change, and hopefully we set a new standard of what day programs should be like, and that it's individualized and giving the dignity and respect that people with dementia so deserve, and the fun they deserve. It's no longer it should be acceptable to have people lined up in front of a TV and that's how their day is. People with dementia need to have socialization and stimulation and friendships and relationships. Relationships are such a valuable part that regardless of the stage of disease that you're in. I mean, I've seen people even form, more intimate relationships and with dementia. That, it's just because you have dementia doesn't mean your life is over. It just means you have to live it differently.
Exactly. Harry, any comments?
I am very impressed. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope this concept grows and grows, so it comes down into the United States, because I think it's a wonderful idea.
I hope so too. Thank you so much, Harry.
I agree. And then, Ashley, do you want to give people your contact information one more time?
Sure. Yep. We are. Our website is www.memoryandcompany.com, as it sounds, and our number here is 905-888-8808.
Okay. And I'm just going to make mention that and is spelled out and company is spelled out, so memoryandcompany.com.
Yes.
And I had a hard time finding it when I searched. I don't know, my computer did an update and it was searching by Yahoo, and I couldn't find it. But when I searched by Google, it popped up right away, and was easy to find. So I just want to make sure that people find you okay, because again, fabulous concept, so exciting to hear and to see your dream coming through after 17 years of hard work. And not too many people are willing to sell their house to see their dream come true.
Yeah.
So
I know I'm crazy.
No, but it shows your commitment and your belief, and I think because of that, I think you're going to be rewarded really well. I think this is way overdue, and is needed and has been asked for by so many people, and it's nice to see when someone's brave enough to take the risk, to make the change. So
thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you, and please keep me posted as you go along. And everyone, keep in mind May 4th. And if you want to send me like a press release or something when you open up, please do so, and I'll push that out on the blog and stuff too. Okay. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. Really appreciate it very much. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Well, I'm looking outside of my window here in Minnesota, and we finally are getting some snow, and it looks like we're going to get quite the bit today. I don't think we're going to be able to compare to out east there. How are you doing snow-wise, Harry?
You want some?
Do you want some?
we have enough around here to ship out to you. Actually, in Pennsylvania, it's not bad, because all the major storms that came through missed us, either to the north, to the south, or whatever. But as you go more east, they've been. I mean, some places got like 2.5 foot of snow in one day. I can't imagine.
Yeah, that of Boston really, really got nailed, and I saw that they're melting. They're trying to melt it, and they can't keep up with it and stuff. And we're here in the Twin Cities. We're only supposed to get 2 to 4 inches, but at least it'll cover the ground, because we've actually been able to see the grass, which has been very strange. But it's supposed to be kind of blizzardy, and it was sleeting a little bit earlier. So, yeah, big change here for us. Well, I'm going to roll into our kind of mid-program highlights here, and then I will introduce and kind of set up our second half of the show, which I'm, again, very excited. We're going to be talking about fit kits. And we've got a couple of just excellent guests that are going to tell us all about that. But in the meantime, if you weren't able to listen to our last radio show, we talked about dementia. We're in this together with Mike Good, and it was an interesting conversation. We had a few people that had called in and asked questions as well. Our next radio show, next Tuesday on the 17th, we're going to be talking with author Carrie Mills, who wrote the book I Care. And on the 24th, we're going to be doing a 2-hour special on frontal temporal lobe dementia. And so I would encourage people to be part of that show. We're going to have a wide variety of people as guests that we're going to be talking to. But again, we always encourage the general public to partake in those conversations as well. Later this afternoon, we are going to be having one of our Dementia Chats webinars. That starts at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 2 Central, 1 if you're Mountain Time, and noon if you're Pacific Time. And those are free. You can just go to the website alzheimerspeaks.com. Or you can go to our Dementia Chats page on Facebook. It's posted all over to our blog post to get the link to be able to go in. Our prior Dementia Chats, we talked about advocacy and the needs for volunteers and the needs for businesses and communities to really educate and organize working with volunteers. We know that there's kind of a big stigma about liability with volunteers, and so we had an interesting conversation on that. We also talked with Michael Ellenbogen and Harry Urban, who's with us today, and Robert Bowles about their current and future projects. All 3 of these men are living with dementia and doing it brilliantly and really raising the bar in terms of how you can live and what you can do with your life as a whole. And so our conversations there are always very fun. They're very informal, just like they are here on Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. Very informal. There are no questions, a dumb one, and we love to hear everyone's voice. I have on the blog a couple of blog posts I'm just going to mention. On the 8th, I did a post. Again, Michael Ellenbogen had gone and seen the movie Still Alice, and he did a little review on that. And Michael, again, is living with dementia. I had not seen it, but his review prompted me to get my butt in the car and drive across town to the only theater around us that was hosting it. And I was so glad that I went and saw that movie. Harry, have you seen Still Alice?
I have not seen it yet, no.
Yeah, it's really done very well, and there's only so much they can do within their time frame, but I think they did a nice job. I'm saddened that it's not in more theaters because so many people want to see it, and it's very limited. It will be going out on Netflix, that is my understanding, soon, but it's too bad that they lost that opportunity, not realizing the general public really is ready to see movies like this. And, maybe the next one they'll actually book to be in the theaters and not just have these little specialty things, especially with the awards that this one won. So, but it was a very interesting. I was saddened too when I went to the theater that there weren't more people there, because again, not everybody knows, and people aren't used to hounding a theater for a movie, and that seems to be what we have to do for any dementia-related movies, is we have to hound them to say that we want it. So I encourage people to pick up your phone and call your local theaters and kind of chew them out. Let them know you're ready, you're willing, and able to pay for that type of movie, and that it's needed, and that it will do some social good as well as just pulling in funds to the theater. On the 8th, we also I also posted a poem called Tram in Nowhere, and that was by a gal from Melbourne, Australia, who submitted that, and we've gotten some nice feedback on her poem, so I'd encourage you to go read that. I also put a save the date for a free Caring for a Person with Memory Loss conference. It's going to be held Saturday, May 30th. 2015, from 8 to 4:30 p.m. at the Mayo Memorial Auditorium at the University of Minnesota. It's put on by Joe Gogler every year, and it's really a nice conference that he puts on. So you can get more information there. And then I also posted a link on the 5th. Host Ken Capron from Memory Works does a monthly speakers forum, and on this one he was talking about the stigma of dementia, and he actually interviewed Michael Ellenbogen and myself, and so we had that participated in that, but that is videoed, and people can get more information on that show as well. So let me go ahead and introduce our next guest here. Again, very excited about who we've got with us today. If you missed the first half of the show, I would recommend that you go back and listen to it. We were talking about the health club concept for people with dementia, which is an adult day, definitely with a twist, called Memory and Company. It's kicking off in Canada by a young woman named Ashley Kwong, and I think just a brilliant concept. Our second half of our show today, we are going to be talking with Karen Love and Kelly Sheets, who are both with Fit Kits. And Karen is a former speech therapist and long-term administrator with more than 30 years of experience of I can't talk here. I'm losing my word. Operational experience in advancing person-centered practices in long-term services and support settings. She is really innovative in her approach, and she's nationally recognized, and she has used some Montessori-based techniques that enhance the well-being of people living with dementia through meaningful and purposeful engagement. And she is the co-founder of Fit Kits, which is a dementia engagement product that is researched and it's tested, and it is developed with the mission of helping people living with dementia be able to live more fully. So welcome, Karen. How are you today?
I am terrific. Good morning, and it sounds like Minnesota is cold this time of year.
It is. It's been unusually warm, but as I'm looking out my window, it's blowing to beat the band and just looking kind of nasty out there. So I'm kind of glad I'm in all day today. So yeah, but we're due. We are Minnesota. We are supposed to have snow and cold, and so we've been actually really kind of blessed so far this year. But I think today we will remember this one. Let me go ahead and introduce Kelly, your cohort here. Kelly started her work with elders as a recreational therapist in an acute rehabilitation center, and she quickly moved into management and marketing of assisted living communities. After 10 years, she began consulting and working to increase the quality of life for elders. Her passion for helping people who are living with dementia and their families has really grown, and as a result, she started working with Fit Kits as well. So welcome, Kelly. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, good. What we're gonna do here is I'm gonna kind of post some questions back and forth here, and I think I'm gonna throw the first one out to Karen, since she's one of the co-founders of Fit Kits. Karen, what made you decide to start this company?
Well, a host of things, but basically through my work in the field and helping people live more fully with dementia when I was running different long-term care environments, and then subsequently doing research, a number of projects that were funded by the National Institute on Aging and the Administration on Aging, and realizing, that it's pretty easy to do, this interaction and, basically bringing out the best in people living with dementia, helping them engage something that their brains no longer automatically give them the capacity to do. And my research partner, Elia Famia, and I saying, wow, why limit this? I mean, this needs to get out there so that other people can realize and put this together themselves. And with Valentine's Day around the corner, the timing for this is perfect because engaging somebody to help them live fully with dementia is truly an act of love.
Definitely is. Can you tell us, Karen, what does living fully with dementia really mean to you? How would you define that?
Sure. And people may be hearing a lot of things on shows and reading in newspapers about the neuroscience of romance and love. Well, there's an awful lot in common with the neuroscience of living fully with dementia, because what happens with the romance is that these warm, exciting sparks that cause one's heart to flutter is the brain's limbic system releasing what are known as feel-good neurotransmitters like oxytocin and dopamine. Well, that's the same thing that happens when we can help people live fully with dementia. Their brains no longer, after a certain point, allow them to have the executive function of finding interesting, purposeful, meaningful things to do. And so they end up spending long periods of time inactive and bored, which leads to feelings of agitation, frustration, sadness. But if you can help engage them, very similarly, it sparks these feel-good neurotransmitters, which then produce the feel-good feelings, as opposed to the opposite when they're not sparked and people start feeling agitated, frustrated, sad. The brain will spark a different type of neurotransmitter, such as norepinephrine, cortisol, and adrenaline. So the brain's going to start sparking neurochemicals one way, transmitter chemicals one way or the other. We might as well help ensure that the ones that sparked are proactive and positive ones.
Wonderful. Kelly, anything you want to add to, I guess your definition of living fully with dementia?
Absolutely. I was telling Karen earlier that I love that definition of how someone lives fully, is this idea of triggering the good, happy chemicals for someone so that they can actually feel really good. And I think one of the things that I've seen over the years is that most people just don't know that that is possible, that they don't realize that there's this next level that someone with dementia can go to. But it's this place that we just make assumptions that, that it's part of the disease process, that we don't engage any longer once we have dementia. Someone's just not interested. But when a family or a friend or a professional realizes, oh, part of this is me doing something to help trigger that interaction in the brain, and then they can engage, I think that's taking it to the next level. And like what I think of, and maybe some of the listeners can think of, is that I like to give my own example of how I feel in my body. Is like if I'm sitting through, say, a long conference all day long, and I'm sitting there not doing anything, my body starts to feel like almost depressed, like, oh my gosh, I don't feel very good, I don't feel like I want to do anything, I might even feel irritated and agitated in my body, like, get me out of here. But as soon as I get up, I start moving, someone starts talking to me about something interesting, it's almost like the chemicals in my body change and I become enlivened again. And I think that's kind of that relation for the chemical that Karen's talking about, is like when we are that trigger for the person, they can actually turn on and re-engage with us. So that's that place where it's just rather going from living to living more fully, I think. So
okay,
that's my image of it.
Go ahead, Karen.
A great example is the gentleman that were talking earlier, Michael Ellenbogen and the others, is that they are able at this stage to fully engage themselves and are very active and doing wonderful things. So clearly they're the kind of individuals that that kind of level of engagement is going to be so powerful and important for them later on. So it's good to know that. And then their loved ones and others in their world, when they no longer can manage the executive function of finding and instigating and self-initiating those things, that others will do that for them.
Mhm. Definitely. Now, one thing I didn't ask you to, and I probably should, and I'll throw it to Karen first, is Karen, have you been personally touched by, with a friend or family member with dementia at all? I think people are always interested. How did you fall into this space?
Sure. Well, yes, the answer is yes. My father had Alzheimer's disease, and he's been gone now for a little over 10 years. But I actually fell into the space as a senior in high school. I worked as a nursing home assistant on the 3 to 9 shift, and I just fell in love. I mean, I loved the elders overall. But the ones that just captured my heart especially were the individuals living with dementia. And I think it was twofold. One, when you, as Kelly was talking, when you have this relationship and you connect with another, there was this light that would just go on in their eyes. And, I realized that there was, so much more going on inside that, others weren't recognizing or registering. And, we did all kinds of things. I mean, back in the day, unfortunately, it was a long time ago since I was a senior in high school, but, they used to keep those kinds of residents in bed and, wouldn't even necessarily help them get up and dressed. And, that was one of the things is, oh, no, let's get up. And, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to eat chocolate. Well, let's figure out how to get you some chocolate. And, to see that interest and excitement and what literally, maybe talk just a little bit about the physiology of what's sparking. So the neural synapses in the brain, some of those with the differing kinds of dementia, those cells, many of those cells die away. And so the connections don't automatically happen. But when you get this activity through the neurotransmitter, through the chemicals, they spark, and basically that's what neuroplasticity is all about. It's sparking new neural connections to make things happen. And so, for example, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie I Remember Better When I Paint. For somebody for whom painting was really important, it sparks that, interest. There's an advocate that I'm working with that lives in Florida right now, and when he starts talking about advocacy, and you could just imagine his brain just lighting up like crazy, he doesn't have the same amount of difficulty putting things together and losing his place because his brain is firing away. Which is really exciting. But yes, my dad had Alzheimer's disease, and so I do have that one personal experience as well.
Okay. How about you, Kelly? Have you been personally touched?
Yes. Well, to be honest, in my immediate family, my grandfather had dementia, which was triggered by he had a stroke and unfortunately didn't live very long after that. But on what I consider my personal, I moved from the East Coast to the West Coast right out of college. And so my family are my friends now on the West Coast. And I was actually the executive director of a community in Santa Barbara. And there were 100 residents that lived there, 100 amazing, quote-unquote, independent seniors. And they had very limited income. So many of them were in probably the beginning to moderate stages of dementia, and they were still living there with us, and we were doing everything we could to help them stay in their homes, and it was really great because I lived there. I lived there for 4 years with them, and so they were my friends, and they were my personal experience. I'd meet them in the hallways after hours and talk to them and eat with them and live with them, and that was a huge impact on me to watch how when there was this expectation that we would continue to engage with them no matter what level of dementia they were living at, whether they had no dementia, they had some sort of dementia, that they really did function within a community quite well. And to see them, that difference when someone is moved into a community where everyone has dementia, I think it's a shift. It's interesting. So, yes, I did live with many people who had dementia, and it was a really fantastic experience. So.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, that's always just nice, I think, for our listeners to know on that. Karen, can you tell us a little bit more about fit kits? What exactly are there? Is there just one type of fit kit, or is there a variety of fit kits? What exactly is fit kits?
Well, fit, I probably ought to back up and explain that fit, F-I-T, isn't really the physical fitness. It stands for family/friends interacting together. So that was, really a nod to the importance and recognition of the connection and relationships. And what we found through all of our extensive research in the field and working with hundreds of people living with dementia as well as family and other care partners was that people needed to have a little bit of information about how to trigger engagement. Every once in a while you'd find someone who intuitively knew how to do that. And Kelly was one of those intuitive kind of people. She just knew how to engage people and how to figure out what it is that they like. But the majority of people don't know how to do that, or they don't stop and think that somebody may be a morning person and if you're trying to get them engaged in something late in the day, it's not going to be as effective. Or, for example, somebody who may be more artsy inclined, probably isn't going to get all that excited with maybe building materials. So, you've got to start with some levels of, what people like. So the kits, we have 10 different kits, and they're thematic because there are lots of different interests for people, such as, relaxation, art and design, sports, music, travel, etc. And then there's 3 different items in each of the kits because not everything will be interesting at any given time. Something might be interesting one day, not the next day. All the items have been extensively tested, so they are items that have wide appeal. In other words, part of what we test and filter through in our fidelity testing is this interesting to lots of people? It might be interesting to 1 or 2, but if it's not interesting to 20, 30, or 40, then that's an item we don't include in the kit. The kits also come with this general information, not too much because people don't want to read through a lot of material, but what are the things to make the engagement successful, such as a good time of day and positive encouragement. Also introducing an activity with enthusiasm. It's interesting how often somebody will just pull some material out and just set it on the table and practically walk away, or just say here do this, and we need to spark and catalyze the engagement. And so the look on your face, the enjoyment, the fact that it's interesting, all of those are really critically important. Can I give an example or two?
That'd be great. That would be wonderful.
Okay, super. So one of the families that we worked with, the mother who was living with dementia, she was in her early 90s at this stage, and her daughter, she had been a choral arts director, and her daughter knew what kind of things would attract her mom or be of interest to her mom, but also knew how important it was for her to be enthused about, the item. And so she would try things with her mother that were maybe a bit outside the box, that people might not think would be a good, thing to offer. But it was because of her enthusiasm and interest in the item that it was contagious. So, for example, I'm saying her mother's in her 90s at this point, and she introduced some garage band music. So that's not music, that the mother was typically familiar with or might even.
Karen, are you there?
Oh, no, we lost
Karen.
her.
Yep, her call got dropped. So, Karen, if you can call back in, that would be wonderful. And, Kelly, I don't know if you know the rest of that story at all, if you could pick that up or not.
Well, I could just tell you that I've actually seen videos. They videotaped this family. So I've seen her mother really engaging in technology, using technology to trigger engagement between both of them. So that was kind of the result of that, something they didn't think would work. But I kind of want to add on is that, you know, the fit kits, what made them really interesting to me was that this isn't just about engaging the person who's living with dementia and helping them live more fully, but this is, as anyone that has someone in their life who's living with dementia knows, it affects all of us. It affects our relationships with one another. You know, if your mother has it or your family member, it also affects our neighbors and our extended friends when we are trying to interact with them. I mean, people lose their friends over this because people don't know how to interact and they don't know what to say. And I think the great thing about the fit kits is, yes, they're research and tested, which is brilliant because you know that you're getting something that's already been tried out and that there's kind of this, you know, if you use this, you know, you can get these results. But the other part of that is that for the person that doesn't have dementia, it gives us a way to reconnect with someone. It gives us that feeling as well that, you know, that it triggers that feeling in us that, yes, I'm creating new memories with my mother or my grandmother or my neighbor, and I'm still having that interaction. So I get to, I feel like I want to do that more often. And so as we have successes and that person who's living with dementia has successes, I think it really creates that connection between us that we start to lose if we feel like we're on different planes from them. We're not really equal anymore. And I think that, for me, that's the biggest benefit of those kits is that it, you know, you get the directions in there. It gives you multiple ways to use them. It reminds you how to trigger that engagement so you both have those connections. And the example that she was giving, I think that's what it's showing is that both the daughter and the mother were enjoying that. They were both having fun, and it makes it more rewarding and enjoyable for the future, too. So
great. Oh, thank you, Kelly. We do have Karen back here.
Yes, my phone just turned off. I so apologize.
Nope, not a problem. That stuff happens. That's why you just dial back in. So Kelly just kind of filled us in. And I think that that's one of the really important things, too, with engagement and activities is it's not one-sided. It truly is about both parties engaging and enjoying and having a pleasant time, you know, together.
Right.
And I think for a lot of people, and I might be wrong, but I think a lot of people are surprised that they can have fun and that they can really connect. And it's so sad because I think as a society we have been taught to give up on these people and let them go, you know, and
you are so right. I received an email. One of the kits that we have, our animal kit, we wrote a book called Fur and Feathers, and I heard from a granddaughter, if I could read her email, it's short. It says, looking at the Fur and Feathers photo book was such a great way to connect with my grandmother who has dementia. Since I live across the country from her, it's been almost 2 years since I last visited, and I was really nervous that I wouldn't know what to say or do around her. The book helped to lessen my awkwardness, and we found ourselves laughing and talking about the animals in the pictures. While looking at the book, my grandmother began to sing some songs about animals that my aunt, who was also visiting with me, hadn't remembered hearing since childhood. The book helped break the ice and turned our visit into a very sacred and special time together. So this really speaks to what you were saying, Lori, and that is the surprise, you know, that you can have these interactive and fun things together. The granddaughter, though, you know, and the aunt had to kind of go with the flow, and, you know, the grandmother started singing these old songs. It sounds like, they just got right into it. I can remember one time when my father was fairly advanced with dementia. My daughters were pretty young and loved going to feed the ducks, and we would save the ends of the heels of bread and let them get nice and stale and take them out for the ducks. And there we are, and the girls are feeding the ducks, the bread, throwing it in, and we look over, and there's my dad eating the stale pieces of bread. And my daughters started laughing because they went with the flow. They didn't run over and say, "No, Grandpa, give them to the ducks." But they just sort of went in the flow, and that's really important. It's like what this granddaughter just did. That as long as you have sort of a no wrong way, that's really nice. I remember working with a family a number of years ago, and the woman's husband was living with dementia, and he was very angry, and apparently in their relationship he had never really cussed, but in this point of his life he was very frustrated and was cussing up a storm. And one day, so we were, kind of training and teaching her, some new skills, and one of them was to, tickle his funny bone, try and see if she can turn him around. And so one day he yelled at her, "Go to hell!" And she popped back and looked at him and said, "Not today. I'm really way too busy." and I wasn't there when this happened, but she described it and said, "Oh my gosh, it tickled my funny bone. It just made me break out in laughter." And I looked up, and my husband, he was laughing, and a very difficult time transitioned, to one in which we both connected and laughed. And she said, and it changed his whole outlook for that afternoon. And what that experience did was it let me realize that he was picking up on my anxiety, my frustration, reading it from my body language, and that, as I started to relax and smile and do more fun things and just look up and smile at him, at times throughout the day, it changed the entire dynamic.
And Lori, if I could just
go ahead.
I was going to say something that just what triggered me while Karen was talking was this thing where when we have to move one of our loved ones into a community where they're going to be cared for. And I think that as listeners on your call today, that maybe they're thinking, also what they can personally do to engage someone, their loved one with dementia. But also when you go into a care home, the caregivers, the care partners there are so in the mindset of, I have to, quote unquote, care for this person. So they're thinking tasks, activities of daily living, right? Feeding, bathing, moving, all of these things. But I think having permission from the family is really important, that connection between the family member to also the caregivers to understand that it's okay for that person in the home when the family's not there to also have these engagements. And as we've started to talk to long-term care communities about using the fit kits there, I think that is part of that key as well, is that the shifting culture around the fact that, we're paying you to care for my family member, but that also, part of that is that you engage and love and laugh with them, and that your job is to trigger them as well. So when family goes in to actually, sometimes it may require actually having that conversation, like, hey, I want you to have a relationship with my father, and I want you to laugh with him and engage with him, and even taking items into the home with you on that visit to say, hey, why don't you try this? Because I think that's also the connection of, like, through the transition from someone living with you, and then if at some point they need to move somewhere, how can we keep that engagement and that connection and familiarity happening so that those things, we do keep, efforting to have them be living fully, and that there's not like this end date and then they go live somewhere and no one knows what they need on that level anymore. I think it's really engaging the caregivers as well in that process.
Agree. Go ahead, Karen.
Well, I was going to say that there's a lot of research about this and the dynamic of what happens. And when I was telling the story about the woman who responded to her husband's "go to hell" with, sort of a funny response, Stephen Sabat is a neuropsychologist from Georgetown University, and he has been studying and working with families in this particular area for almost 40 years. And one of the things that he's the first one I've ever heard kind of be very forthright and connect the dots on this, but he says that a lot of times the way somebody experiences and reacts who's living with dementia is how they're treated, that we don't even realize sometimes that, maybe we aren't smiling or that we appear tense and, sort of maybe anxious ourselves, and that really has, very much of an effect, for the other. So very important to think about, how we're feeling and how we're projecting. And Kelly, I loved your example of when you were running the assisted living, that it's very easy to get focused on all of the tasks and helping the individual with just the daily parts of life, but we don't think about neglect. I mean, if those things weren't done, that would be physical neglect, but we don't think as a society about neglecting the spirit. And really, that's the other side of not engaging somebody with dementia, is that the brain no longer can self-initiate, and so we end up trapping them with long days of doing nothing, which is really neglect of the spirit. And I don't know if any of you have been in a nursing home, but it can be really sad when you see people lined up in the corridors, just sitting or around the nurse's station. And, to me, that is a major signpost of neglect of the spirit. That when you see that, right away that should trigger in us, those individuals don't want to just be sitting out there. They're doing so because they aren't being engaged. They don't have something to do. And if they're nodding off in their chair, it means that that if they're tired, they should be laid, and be more comfortable laying down in their bed. So hopefully our work and some of our presentations and exhibits with Fit Kids, we're hoping to sort of start changing the conversation, changing the expectation of what it's like to live with dementia. And for others, and I love that this is around Valentine's Day, because it is an act of care, compassion, and love for others, that we nurture their spirit as well as their physical needs.
And if I can just say, Lori, that Karen, I love that. That's such a great perspective. And one of the things that we all have to realize, Karen and I were talking before this conversation, and we were talking about families and people that she's worked with that have said, I just didn't put that together. I didn't know that. And I think part of it is that not a lot of people do know this. This isn't really common knowledge that, all professionals know that, we need to trigger people who have moderate to advanced dementia to get them engaged. There's an assumption that, I put the activity in front of them, I put their art supplies in front of them, and then they didn't do anything, so that's just not in their interest, the realm of interest anymore. But it's just because most people don't know this, and that's why starting the conversation, having the kits and the tip cards, and as well, Karen and her partner Elia, they wrote a book. Their latest product is actually a guide and a DVD, and it's about, that you can help someone live fully with dementia. And it's a booklet that just gives you the basics of this engagement. You know, how do you help someone engage in a family gathering or a group setting? How do you communicate with them in the most effective ways, just so that this does become more common, so that people aren't saying, oh, I should have known that. And it's like, no, you just don't know because it hasn't really been out there in the, you know, in front of everyone yet. So that's part of, you know, the research and everything that Karen and these other professionals have been doing, is to get that out there. That it's not that you should have known this already. And that's something I would hate for a family to think, because I didn't know this, and I worked for years with people who live with dementia, and I wasn't having these conversations until Karen connected me with all this research and made me realize that, like, oh, yeah, that's why what I did worked, or sometimes it didn't work. So it's really about, you know, just having more resources. But anyway, this new book is it's a short little guide, and it's really helpful because that's what she's addressing. It's just the basics for anyone that wants to read about it, not the extensive research, so you have to know all the details, but just how you can do it. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Okay. No, that's great. Good information. Karen, did you want to add something to that?
Well, yeah, just thank you. But no, one of the things that Kelly was saying about art, I was working with a daughter, a family member yesterday, whose mother had been a watercolorist and oil art or oil painter. And the daughter was explaining how frustrated that she and her brother and sister were because they brought all this stuff into her mom's assisted living, and her mom was ignoring it. And I just smiled because for some people, they might, you know, that might trigger and, you know, they might be interested. But for others, they may have moved beyond the ability to manage things that way, but still have artistic expression. And so there's a wonderful Mindware is a company, and they have this wonderful wooden patterns that you can make all kinds of different designs called pattern play. And sometimes you have to spark, you know, the interest through a little bit different modality. So in that case, you know, it wouldn't be painting herself, but maybe expressing, you know, that artistic ability in another way. The opposite of that is sometimes families think, oh, they can't or won't, you know, that's not going to be of interest or something they can do anymore, and can be very surprised. For example, one time in a nursing home, we got a resident because he had been turned down and turned away from a number of other places because he was what they called very difficult. He wasn't difficult. He was just very bored. And, you know, we were talking with the family and getting some information about his background and what he used to like and what he did. And it turned out he was a trumpet player. And so I looked at the family and said, well, can you bring his trumpet in? And they looked at me and said, well, no, he doesn't play trumpet anymore. And I said, well, he may not play, but it might give him a sense of comfort just to see his trumpet. If he played that much, you know, in life, it may feel, you know, funny not having it around. And so they brought it in, and lo and behold, he picked that thing up, puckered his lips, and started blowing away. And the joy in their face to see, because they just kept thinking that, you know, their dad was, they'd lost him, that, you know, there weren't parts of him still there. And that's so not true. There are parts still there. It's just, you know, how do we access? How do we bring them out? How do we help, you know, spark that? And they walked away that day with tears in their eyes, and they said, thank you. We had no idea. And it again, that was another turning point for our family, you know, to start thinking and interacting a little bit differently. It was also a heads up for us in that nursing home that we had to make sure that he didn't have his trumpet in the middle of the night, because he'd wake up and get the urge to play, you know, at 2 a.m.
Oh, too funny. I think that's an absolutely great story. Great story. And just those simple things of, you know, we're making these prejudgments that somebody can't do something anymore, when we really aren't even giving them the opportunity to explore, and maybe they are still interested, maybe they still are capable. It's just, it's so sad, the myths and the stigmas that are out there with this disease that are really holding people back from helping others. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy in terms of bringing comfort to somebody, and when they're comfortable and relaxed and having fun, we are then too. And so I think really keeping in mind of breaking down those barriers and knowing that nothing is for sure with this disease. Things ebb and they flow and they change, and like the movie you had talked about painting, Daniel Potts' dad never painted, and all of a sudden his paintings are on exhibit around the country. And so we don't know what skill levels are going to be and what's going to happen with this disease, and allowing ourselves to be more spontaneous and non-judgmental, and kind of removing that fear of failure, because a lot of times we're setting it up because of our judgment. And if we don't look at failure as an inability of being able to do something, then it's just something we tried, and we don't have to put that pressure on ourselves. So I think that's so cool that he picked up that instrument. I can't even imagine how much joy that will give the family the rest of their life, and just a brilliant story to say. I'd like to pull in Harry Urban. He's on the line here, and he has dementia, and just Harry always has some input after he's listened to what's going on. What do you think about the concept of fit kits, Harry?
I like it. I like to add a couple of things, though. Now, I was diagnosed 11 years ago with Alzheimer's, so I look and think through the eyes of Alzheimer's. Okay, now, if you want to engage with me, you have to come into my world, and you have to realize my world is a lot different than yours. And I had one woman tell me that her husband is always angry. I hate this disease. I hate what it's doing. And I said, I'm going to mimic you. You don't know how angry you are, because it's so common with you. So if you want to engage with me, let that anger out in your world. Don't bring it into mine. Somebody else was, I lost my train of thought.
Harry, this is Karen. I wanted to just say that you are so right, and I am so glad you said the whole point about come into my world, because that is the foundation. I love that, and I don't know if you've heard about the virtual dementia tour, PK Bevel design, and that's what it helps do for people is, kind of help us come into the world, because we don't know what you're experiencing, and we do need to have that sensitivity.
I'm not a big fan of the virtual tours. Now, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, because I lived this disease for so long. They're not natural to me. That's not what it is. If you want to learn about my disease, talk to somebody that has dementia. They will tell you. And I think those tours are good, but they're not my day-to-day life. I had a woman tell me that her husband won't talk to me, and she said, he is so far into this disease that he just won't talk to me anymore. And well, I said to her, I said, come into my world, understand my world. Number one, you're not going to engage with me if I don't understand you. I said, slow down your speech. Give me time to understand what you're saying. And then maybe after that I can engage with you. And she said, well, she never thought of that, but she tried it, and and it worked. I mean, if somebody speaks too fast, of course I'm not going to understand. But it might be normal for them, but it's not my normal.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Harry, if I were in the same room with you, I'd give you a great big hug right now because you hit on another key element of communication. I mean, that is critically important. Another item I'll throw in besides, slowing down is to speak in front of the person. Often our backs are turned, but giving them, your full face and kind of seeing the body language, all of that stuff at a subconscious level even, helps with interpreting what is said. It also reminded me that people who, the individual isn't, talking back, he's not answering me. Well, the expressive ability to speak is lost much, much sooner than the receptive ability. In other words, people can hear and understand much longer in dementia. So if the individual is not, even though you've done these good communication techniques and the individual isn't responding, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not hearing you. And,
No, did we lose her again?
No. I didn't know if Harry was going to give us another wonderful point.
Oh.
I have so many. I can take up your whole hour, but I won't.
And actually, Harry, this is Kelly. I was going to say that I love your comment about come into my world from the emotional standpoint, that, if someone's, angry and they're coming into your space, it's like, dementia or not, it doesn't make me more inclined to want to converse, engage, and interact with you. So it's really, I think that's an important point, is that we can often, I think, as we begin to compartmentalize someone with any sort of diagnosis, we kind of label and put someone to the side and say, these are assumptions we make about them. And I don't know, we're kind of presumptuous sometimes to come at someone however we are and assume that they'll want to interact with us. So I think that's an important point, is to always be self-aware of how we are, what energy we're giving off when we come up to someone, what we have on our mind, or, what our expectations are when we interact with them. I think that's really important, and probably more so for someone who's living with dementia, who's integrating and digesting information at a different rate than perhaps someone who doesn't have dementia. So I love that point. Thank you.
Well, that's why it is so important that the care partner takes care of themselves, because they live the stress of this disease, and it becomes their normal. Okay,
right.
And then they come into my world and they carry that with them, and they don't even know how stressful they are. That's why it is so important that I don't know how many care partners said I don't have time for that. Well, if you don't have time for that, then stay away from me, because I don't want you to stress. That's my philosophy. And I don't know. It's kind of hard to understand.
Oh, Harry, you're a wise man.
But I think that's true, Harry, because in any, if you read any successful people write a book, they always say, it's really hard to take care of myself, and so therefore I have to write it on my schedule every day. It's part of my work schedule to take a walk or do meditation or write my goals or whatever it is they're going to do for success. And I think somehow in the role of care partner, professional or family members, there's a perception that that's not accepted, to be able to set that time aside and say, no, this is part of my job. I must take care of myself in order to be balanced, happy, healthy, and, good at this and really helpful. And it's just a perception, I think, culturally we have to start shifting, that it is an important part of the role of anyone helping someone else is to take care of themselves.
And that was one of the things. That was one of the benefits that we found with the sick kids is that, in helping families and friends and others understand that when they connect, that it helps them feel good also. It's this paradox that while they're, maybe setting out to engage, the other individual, it has a backward effect as well. And, it's important as caregivers, care partners, friends, to also, as you say, Harry and Kelly, to be balanced and take care of our own well-being. So really good points coming up today. Thank you.
One thing I'm curious too is with the fit kits. Do you find that somebody will get the fit kit and give it to somebody with dementia, but then they do the fit kit themselves and don't let the dementia patient do it? Like a puzzle. If you give me a puzzle, don't do my puzzle one. Let me do it. Things like that. Is that something with the fit kits that you try to explain that this is only a step? Let the person do it.
That sounds like a new caution we need to add, because you hit on it. And puzzles, the worst item. That's what people tend to just jump in and start putting together. So yes, that's exactly right. It's just like you were saying with conversation, give the individual time to process and respond back. Same thing with the items. Give them time to engage and figure out how they would like to work with it. Maybe you can be part of we have Fit Kit test crews, individuals. Maybe you can become part of our test crew if you're interested. That'd be great for us.
you may not like that.
Harry, it's important to get all perspectives. Good, and that's how we would make good changes. To hear the really good feedback from the hard test crew.
Then make sure you give it to me on a good day.
Okay. And actually, Harry, I've actually noticed the opposite of that. Is that people tend to, it's just like giving, the mother the art supplies and hoping that she'll know how to still work with them. I think sometimes people get the fit kits and they think that because they've been researched and tested, that they can just put the fit kit in front of somebody and then they'll just know what to do. But to someone at, where you're at right now, you could still pick up the puzzle and begin the process. But as dementia advances into like the more moderate to advanced stages, that's when it requires the person sitting and engaging to begin the puzzle, but then not do the whole thing. It's like begin the puzzle so that person gets engaged, starts the process, and then being able to back off a little bit. And what I see more often than not is they put it in front of them and hope that it's going to happen, and they're just missing that key step of the requirement of it requires us to begin that engagement with them to trigger the neural response, to get that going for them. So there's that happy medium there, not too much, not too little.
Yeah.
I find out.
Go ahead, Harry.
Well, go ahead. Oh, okay. What I find out, like with the memory cafes I go to, is if you take a box of dominoes, let's say, and you lay them down, people's going to come up and they're going to start playing with the dominoes, but it opens up a conversation. Mm-hmm. I think what it does is playing with this stuff gives them something to do with their hands, and lets their mind free, that the conversation starts up. And, like if I put down dominoes, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to do anything. You're going to build something. You're going to build a wall, a tower, or something like that. But what you're doing, though, is you're talking, and you start up a conversation. So dominoes are that's important. Things like that somebody can do, somebody can have, and it breaks the ice, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, we've only got about 5 minutes left, so I want to make sure Karen and Kelly with FitKits have had enough time to cover everything that they wanted. So is there anything else that you wanted to mention, Karen?
Yeah, well, Harry triggered another thought when he was just talking, and that was how you utilize items can change, sort of that no wrong way mentality. And I remember we were working at an adult day center and, helping the staff sort of expand their ideas of what are engaging. Everything shouldn't be in groups. Sometimes people would like to just do things either, with one other person or individually. And so we were helping them think that through. And this one gentleman, we had these Jenga blocks. I don't know if you're familiar, but they're the ones we were using were a natural colored wood, and every piece, rectangular piece, was exactly the same size. And this gentleman, instead of the Jenga game, which the staff kept wanting him to do, he had no interest in that. But he must have been an engineer. He took great time and interest in stacking the pieces precisely. And it really was a marvel, almost an engineering marvel that he could do that. And once the staff realized that, I was like, look at him. He is really interested, and he obviously has skill. It may not be doing what you thought he should be doing with them. So that's the other, I guess my last thing is, to just, however, I've seen puzzle pieces, jigsaw puzzle pieces, stacked. No interest whatsoever in doing the puzzle, but, some pretty amazing things people have built with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Very true. I think to remove those stigmas of right and wrong, and just to allow creativity. We've gotten to be a society where we've really muffled that and kind of stomped it out, and it's amazing what people can do if we just let them. If we just give them a safe, free space to be creative and see what happens, and allow us all to go, wow, that was cool, or that was interesting, or well, that didn't work the way I thought it was going to, but what a neat process, just to be. And we talk a lot about being in the moment, but as a society, we don't do that well. I think we've got a really long ways to go, and I think it's neat that you've got kits that can help people be in the moment and give them a variety of choices, and again, with the ability to not even have to stay within those choices. These are just some ideas of how you might use these things. But maybe you'll come up with some others, and that's okay too. Let us know what they are, and we'll add them. We'll add those ideas and share those with others too, because it's not about the process so much, from what I'm hearing. It's about the engagement, and so we have to put the priorities in the right spot. So if people want to find out more about FitKits, they can go to www.fitkits.org. That's FITKITS.org. Or you can email Kelly at fitkits.org, or Karen at fitinteractive.org. And they would be more than glad to get you information. If you go to the website, you will be able to actually visually see the products, the 10 different products that they have, and they've got some video there in terms of how they're used as examples. So wonderful work, ladies. Keep it up. I'm so glad to have you with us on the show today, and I really appreciate your time. Karen, do you want to give a plug for your organization that you're rolling out to? I'll just let you say it. We've got a minute to go here.
Well, thank you so much for having Kelly and I on. We love your radio program. You're doing amazing work. And I think you're referring to the Dementia Action Alliance. And Michael and you and a number of others. It's a people's movement to, help change the conversation and expectations about dementia to improve things in our country. So, yes, we're so grateful that, wonderful people like you are helping change things. It's time. We've gone too long in this nation doing things the same old way. It's time to make things better.
Exactly.
Karen, just to note on that people can now go, the website for the Dementia Action Alliance is now live, and so there's more information on there, and there's also a lot of information about choosing language around dementia. So that website is www.daanow.org. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, you can go there.
Wonderful. That's www.daa.now, I did that wrong, www.daanow.org. It's a great site, lots of excitement rolling around this. And again, I want to thank everyone for being with us today. Again, you can check out FitKits at www.fitkits.org. Thanks for being with us today, everyone. Have a brilliant week.
Thanks.
Hey everybody, Jared Sebestier, host of Retire Repurposed. This podcast is dedicated to help people transition into fulfilling and purposeful retirements. Retirement is a big life change. In fact, the two most dangerous years of a person's life are the year they were born and the year they retire. Few people can just flip the switch from working a career 30 or 40 plus years, retiring on Friday without methodical steps to living what we call a repurposed retirement. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.